Hello and welcome to Ghoulish. I am Max Booth, a host, and today on the program we'll talking with Tony McMillen again about special effects in the movie business. Ooh. Are you okay to do this podcast? I know you were drinking pretty heavily before we got on. Oh, fuck.
I am still drinking heavily. I'm on beer number 2.
How big
Also-
are these cans?
These are also some tall boys, too.
Oh, God. We're not gonna be... Are you gonna get rowdy? Are we gonna get rowdy, Tony? What's going on?
Maybe I might be using some cuss words, some fuck words, and I might get a little colorful. This is a peanut butter porter, which is an ET theme, so it's called Phone Home, which is pretty pathetic. I think it's really tasty.
Sounds cool.
That's so hurtful the way you said that. That's cool.
That you are so cool, Tony. I have some good news and also some bad news. I'll begin with the good news. Last month, when you were on the show, we briefly discussed the disappearance of my son Chad, who left my house after I threw away his comic book collection.
I remember Chad, yes.
Well, as you know, the last episode we did, it blew up. It went viral, 10,000 downloads week 1.
Wow.
So, yeah, it will begin to spread about my son Chad, and I got some emails, and I found out, fucking Chad, he made his way to Hollywood.
Yeah. Good for Chad.
Well, hold on.
Shit.
Yeah. So he wanted to be a bit of a... Chad had a bit of a acting bug in him that he didn't really discuss with me too much, but I'm finding this out now from some of his California friends.
Gotcha.
And I guess he did get a job. I don't know if you know this, but do you know who Max Landis is?
I am aware of Max Landis, yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know a lot about Max Landis, but I guess he is the son of a man named John Landis. And John Landis made this movie about a wolf from the United States, and the wolf, he leaves the country, I guess, and he goes to London. I don't know much about the movie.
I'm writing this down. I'm looking up later. This is good.
I think it's called London Wolf. But the son, he got attached to remake the movie, and the son, he had this issue with the movie because back when the original one was made, they took a boat from the U.S. to London, but he didn't. But Max Landis, he was like, "Fuck that! This is 2019. I want to get big. I want my wolf to take a helicopter." So Chad, I mean, he lucked out. He got one of the big stelling roles in this remake of Wolf Goes to London.
Is he the helicopter?
No, he was one of the pilots. He was a co-pilot.
Oh, rad.
Yeah, but the thing is, so they got into this helicopter and they began flying to London. But the camera crew lost track of the helicopter, and they think perhaps it crashed into the Pacific Ocean. But they haven't found Chad or any of the many kids for some reason. that little passengers. So I don't know if he's dead, alive, what. He's gone missing once again.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. I mean, you've read Lord of the Flies. I'm sure he's on an island somewhere. And as long as he doesn't have glasses, he'll probably be like the king of the island. It'll be fine. Yeah. Lord of the Chads, man. He's doing fine. Also, I totally 100% believe that Max Landis has more than one Chad in his entourage as we speak.
I believe that. Do you think he's still making movies? I don't think that's happening, right?
Oh God, I hope not. I really hope not. He seems like a real shit stain. But I don't know. I will say before I realized how bad of a person he was, I did like his little his explanation of Superman's death and the Doomsday character. He had this real long spiel, which is online. It was before everyone talked about nerdy shit, so it was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
But that does not redeem him in my eyes. So nah. And also his haircut sucks too. I gotta say his haircut sucks. So I'm sorry Chad fell into a bad crew there.
I think I was one of I think I was someone who knew he was a shithead before he became a public shithead. Because as a rowdy teen, I used to go on the Cracked.com forums, and he also had a profile, and he would constantly post attachments to his shitty screenplays, and then everybody would comment and make fun of them, and he would get really upset, and he would constantly talk about how famous his dad was, and how his screenplays were great, and no one knew what they were talking about, and then eventually he was blocked.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. That's just gross. It's like, I honestly have a chip on my shoulder for rich people in general, but when you are definitely like using nepotism to kind of make your way into Hollywood, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people have, and a lot of people who actually still are talented have used their connections, but he just seems like he just had no sense of decency. Even in interviews, it just seemed like he didn't even try to pretend to be like a normal person who cared about etiquette or just being polite. He just seemed like a dick.
I agree. Welcome to Ghoulish. This episode we were talking about Max Landis.
Yay! And cut to Max Landis optioning one of my books, which I won't let it happen. I don't care.
Yeah, that would be fine. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
What? Okay, next question. What book do you think Max Landis should adapt of yours?
Oh, mine? Oh,
yeah.
I think if he did Serious Creatures, his dad is in it.
I know.
Which is fucking weird. And actually, I keep thinking about how I'm not gonna touch on John Landis's Twilight Zone disaster and the deaths there, because it'll take over the whole book. I was like, if I do this, it's like I can't just do it as an aside. It's like it's too horrific and it's too much. It's like it is the whole book would be like, well, let's go back to that. It's like the Wonderland murders, and like in Boogie Nights, they have a little bit of a kind of like they allude to that, but it's like it's just too much. So I'm like, I'm just gonna skip that. I'm like, it's just not. The book's not about that, but it's funny. I've been drawing John Landis, like a version of him, and he's fun to draw, dude. Especially when he's younger, man. He had a sweet beard, but he kept wearing a suit and like turtlenecks and stuff and glasses, and he's really hyper, kind of like his son. He's really, and I've been trying to write him as like a funny asshole, not just an asshole, like a Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
But it's a fine line, man. It's hard to write him and not make him like irredeemable. Not that I think he is that. He's made some amazing movies. John Landis, I'm talking about. John Landis. I mean, Coming to America, American Werewolf. I mean, those are pretty fucking great.
He's made great movies, but yeah, he. I mean, like father, like son.
Seems like it. It really does.
But I do like how you portray him in the comic. Like when he's visiting Jack and he begins talking about like, well, why are you hanging out with this kid? Is she hot? Is his mom's hot? Is his mom's hot?
Right.
Yeah, I can't talk. Fuck.
What's funny is like I ran that by my wife. I had a couple different drafts, and she's like, "Oh, he seems like the worst person in the world." So I was like, "Okay." I dialed back, and she goes, "Oh, you got to make him kind of an asshole." I'm like, "All right." So I kept on going back and forth trying to figure out how to do it because at first I had him doing like really homophobic slurs and like, well, if you do that, you're automatically just terrible. Like I was like, I got to make you, give the audience a little wiggle room with him.
Yeah,
it's tough, man. But yeah, Max Landis sucks. I guess that's a good way to start.
So, what is this comic book? Let's go on with that. Explain what this book is. Issue 2 just dropped. So, issue 2 of what?
issue 2 of Serious Creatures. And so we pick up with basically it's almost a year later, and Bobby, after initially meeting Jack Barber, a special effects guy on the set of Finn, which is a very Jaws-esque film. Bobby has been in correspondence with him, and he's been working on his monster mask and improving his skill. And Bobby lives in Arizona, and Jack's been saying, if in a couple of years you can move out to California and work with me. Well, Bobby's mom gives Bobby an option about either moving to New England to be closer to his sister, or moving to California and having a new start. And Bobby's like, let's go to fucking California. So Bobby goes for it. And so basically, this is when Bobby and Jack finally start working together. And so you get to see, is Bobby up for the task? Is he as good as he thinks he is? Is Jack serious about his offer? And at this point, it's I think 1975 in the series. And so Jack's got a job he's working on, which is going to be a remake of a giant ape movie where a giant ape falls off a building. And I couldn't think of a funny analog title for this, so it's just unnamed. And so Jack really needs some help. And at the same time, the movie Finn, which is, again, very much a Jaws type of film, is going to be released. And so this is going to sort of usher in this new era of films where special effects play a pivotal role. And so we're starting to see Bobby's world, kind of the horizon expand, and also the world that Bobby lives in. The whole industry is changing. And Jack and Bobby have a front row seat to that. So this book is kind of the big first step on his journey into the big time.
I love how you managed to keep a pretty personal, small story going, while also like bringing in this epic outside historical story going on as well. It's really well done how you have everything going on with Bobby's family and also the fucking rise of special effects.
Thanks a lot, man. That's like the real seesaw of the book. Is I try to make every issue. There's got to be an emotional component to it, as well as the big, like you said, like the big overview of the industry and Bobby's place in it. So Bobby's family is a big anchor point in that. So issue 1 is a lot about him and his sister, and issue 2, you get to meet Bobby's mom, Harper, and she is. It's funny. Like I've had mother characters in all my books, or most of my books, and they're all basically based on my own mom because I can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
And this one, visually, I always kind of thought this, but my mom's look was really a lot like Lucille Ball. So when I'm drawing her, everyone's like, it's like, I love Lucy. I'm like, oh, it's just my fucking mom. She has like fake red hair, and it's curly, and she smokes a lot. I'm like, I guess she is Lucille Ball. Shit.
Wow, I didn't know that about you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. We're proud of it. So it's fun. It's fun writing the mom character because she's kind of like my own mom.
She's a badass, man.
Yeah, exactly. She's a badass, shit talking. She's and I made it a point because in issue 1 you just hear about the mom, and you have Lainey kind of talking shit to her mom and talking about how moms had past boyfriends, and including Lainey and Bobby's father who hit their mom and assaulted her, and the mom just took it, according to Lainey. And so now you see the flip side. That's not exactly the case. That Harper Feckle, Bobby and Lainey's mom, can dish it out too, and she's complicated. And I think that's a kind of like a lot of mom characters in pop culture that I always related to. One of the big ones was Lyndall Hamilton as Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
In Terminator. As a kid, all those movies, of course, about cyborgs and time travel, the thing that really hit me in T2 was like, oh, this tough mom reminds me of my mom in like a very exaggerated way. Like she had to be kind of tough and hard because she had to take care of her kids, and so she kind of sacrificed some of that softness. And I always kind of related to that in a really weird way.
I think Roseanne always reminded me of my mom.
Oh, dude, big time. Roseanne, the whole show. Yeah. It's funny, as a kid, I was poor basically, and so I didn't really realize we were poor because all my friends were poor or even poorer. And watching Roseanne, I was like, oh, that's like just a family. And I got older, I was like, oh, they're white trash. Oh, and that's like, oh, I'm white trash. That's that's why this family is like different than the other families on TV, which I always thought this seemed kind of fake. I didn't realize it was like, well, they have money. Like Roseanne's family does not. And I was like, I don't. I was like, oh. And so that, like, every episode of Roseanne, they're always like worried about rent or worrying about this and that and like in medical bills. And I was like, oh, this is just how life is. I was like,
Yeah.
well,
I think that's why I like season 1 and season 2 of The Simpsons so much, because it's feeling much like, how are we gonna pay this month's rent?
yeah, and that's why Bob's Burgers was cool, at least at first, because it was very realistic. It was just more about his family trying to make ends meet, and they have fun. Obviously, you always have fun, but that's always like kind of looming above you. And I think that's something if you have a lot of money growing up, I'm assuming you just don't kind of worry about that. I'm not saying you should feel bad about that, but I just don't think you have that worry.
I agree.
Yeah.
How did you come upon the opening pages of issue 2? You have this whole monologue about what your favorite universal monster means. It's like you have this whole thing, like if your favorite one is Dracula, this is what it says about you. It's almost like a BuzzFeed quiz.
It's like if Cosmopolitan was geared towards me, this is what the questionnaires would be and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a Fangoria, like Cosmo mix. The idea was basically I love drawing those characters, and they're really good in silhouette because you just kind of know those shapes. Like the Bride of Frankenstein, you can just draw that as a black smudge. As long as you have the shape and the line in the side, you just know what it is. And so I thought it'd be fun to draw. But the actual idea of issue 1, there's a lot of stuff Bobby talks about masks in general, and I like the idea of using someone who makes masks for a living, talking about identity and how false a lot of our faces in general are for everybody. And so in issue 2, I was like, well, he makes monsters, and what does it mean to identify as a monster? And I started thinking about the big monsters for me are the modern monsters are the universal ones. And I was like, okay. And I started thinking about how like there's a lot of those monsters are really sympathetic in a lot of ways, and you can kind of relate to them. And like you watch those old movies, a lot of times you're pulling for the monster, like the Wolfman or Frankenstein. Like a lot of times you're just kind of feeling you just want them to succeed, even though they're killing people. And a lot of the book is actually in Bobby's own way. He's a kid, so he kind of exaggerates things, but he feels like he's pulling away from his family because of his ambition, and so he's kind of starting to feel monstrous. And so it's sort of him examining that. And so I just thought that'd be kind of interesting to play with, I think.
Who is Tony McMillen's favorite?
Ooh, okay. So I think, okay, I'll say my favorite, just as a character visually, I just think looks cool is the creature from the Black Lagoon. I think the creature looks super sweet, right? And I actually the first time I really got into the creature was from Monster Squad with their like Gillman knockoff. I just thought he looked awesome, right? And like Fat Kid killed him. I was like, this is great. So I went back and finally watched like the original movie and stuff like that. But of all those creatures, I think I probably identify with Dracula the most, which is what Bobby kind of goes down to, and it's not a good thing. I think Dracula's the least sympathetic of all of them. I think he's kind of has the most intent, and it's kind of evil intent. Like he was kind of, I read Bram Stoker's Dracula as a kid and didn't understand it, but I watched the film and understood that pretty well because there's werewolf sex in it and stuff. But in the film, he's a guy who was fucked over and he got his heart broken, and then he didn't get over it, and so that he becomes a pretty bad guy who's pretty selfish and destroys things. And like, unfortunately, I totally get that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Who would you say is your least favorite Universal monster?
I don't really give a shit about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I know people rarely even think of him as a Universal movie monster, but he is. Him and the Invisible Man just don't really do it for me. I don't know. What about you?
I would say my least favorite Universal monster would be racism. So, moving on to special effects. Have you always had like an interest in this topic? What began it, if so?
I think so. I think actually, the first time watching Star Wars films and seeing some of the characters and the creatures in that made me think, oh, someone must make these. I knew they weren't real, but the first time I really thought about the people who make them was Friday the 13th part four, the final chapter, when Corey Feldman played that little kid Tommy Jarvis who's into making masks.
Yeah.
And exactly, I saw that, and I was basically like the same age as that kid. Because my mom, my hardcore mom, bought me all at the time all 8 Friday the 13th films on VHS. She just gave me all of them,
Nice.
and I was like 9. Yeah, and she's like, "Just go for it." She's like, "Try to skip the titties." I'm like, "Okay, mom, I'll skip the titties. I'll fast forward." It's like not gonna happen. But so I'd freeze frame on titties, and also I got really into Corey Feldman because I was like, "Oh, he's a little kid. He's making these masks." And I was like, "That's really cool." And then a couple of years later, I started reading Fangoria, and obviously Fangoria, they published your book, which is awesome. But what's cool about Fangoria is that they would have articles about like the people who made these masks, and so of course Tom Savini came up, and so a few years later, when like From Dusk Till Dawn came out, they kept talking about how that Tom Savini is an actor in it, but he's actually a special effects guy, and I was like, oh shit, he's like the guy who made the Tommy Jarvis mask, and that Jason, and also Tommy is named after him because he's Tom Savini. And I was like, oh my god! And so that really started the ball rolling about like who are these people who make these masks, and then eventually like seeing Fangoria, seeing behind the scenes photos as a 15-year-old or 13-year-old boy, seeing all these gnarly dudes who are long hair, like looking like they listen to Pantera and like making monsters. I was like, this looks like the coolest fucking job of all time. And I was right.
Have you tried experimenting with stuff yourself?
Sexually, yes, but with masks and sexually, also yes. But it's funny, actually. I was gonna try to make a mold myself because I was watching a lot of tutorials so I could get the facts right when I did the comic book. And then my wife had a kid, and I was like, I don't have time to fuck around with this. I gotta like take care of this kid with her, and so I'm gonna blame my kid for that one.
Have you considered making one of the kid?
Dude, you are fucking genius. Like that, there it is. That's God gives you an orange, you make a lemonade, right?
I think that's what the saying is.
Or you throw it window.
When I was a kid, I had a small cheap camera, and I always tried to make movies. It did not go well, mostly because my friends didn't give a shit, and they would easily get billed and walk away.
Yeah,
but I had it in my head that I could make the greatest movie if only I could get a bunch of condoms. Now that's because I loved like the special features on movies, especially on the one with Hills Have Eyes.
Hey, and the squids.
Yeah, he talked about how he would make guts. He would get all these condoms and just like fill them up with peanut butter. And I thought if I could do that, I could make an awesome movie. But I would beg my mom, and she would not buy me condoms. So my movie career just died before it began.
Oh, dude, what a horrible woman who raised you. I mean,
agree.
Just give you some condoms. I mean, what's the big deal? It's better than not having condoms with peanut butter or whatever. That's
yeah. She also wouldn't buy me peanut butter. I don't know why.
I get that one.
Yeah,
peanut butter leads to sex. Everyone knows that. You give some peanut butter to a kid, they use it as lube. It's like a prison sock hop. If you don't want that. If
my mom did not have peanut butter as a rowdy teen, I would not be alive today.
God, it's such a shame that Chad left and you couldn't raise him the right way, like the way you were raised. It's a pity.
I mean, someone might find him in the ocean. I don't know.
Yeah, kids float.
What's the difference between special effects, CGI, and VFX?
Okay, so special effects can be used as a catch-all, but mostly people use special effects as practical effects, which means somebody in real life making a mask or a mold or even an animatronic, something that's actually on set that's being used. Of course, CGI is computer-generated image, and so that's something done completely on computer, digitally added in. And visual effects kind of can be both. So back in the day, visual effects, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when all the Nazis have like the glowing stuff coming out of them after they open the Ark and they're all melting and shit. So when they're melting, that's practical effects. Their faces are melting. They had these fake animatronic faces and fake blood and stuff. But the light coming out of their eyes and all that like special magical energy and stuff, that's visual effects. That was added. and I forget they did some really cool stuff. But they did like using blue screen. I think they did like a fishbowl full of fake fog and smoke, and they just put lights through it, and then you superimpose that, and it shoots out as like the actors' mouths and stuff. Some crazy shit like that. So that's old school visual effects, and nowadays most visual effects are just done with the computer because it's easier, and you can do more crazy stuff. So that's my breakdown of the three effects you mentioned.
Okay,
Types.
that makes a lot of sense. I did not know that, but now I do know that, and maybe someone who is listening did not know that, and now they also now know that. So thank you, Tony.
Send me money.
I am not gonna do that. I have a game I want to play with you before we end this episode.
Okay.
I'm gonna explain a famous scene from a movie, and then I'm gonna expect you to tell me how it was done.
Oh, of course, yeah, sure.
I have many scenes, so it's gonna be a while. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Now, in those Hobbit movies, how do they fit a camera crew inside the trees?
Well, the sad story is that in New Zealand, the filmmaking laws are a lot looser. So basically, all the cameramen had their legs broken. This way, they can be shoved into the smaller holes of the tree. So the other thing is that in New Zealand, they also make cameras much smaller, so they shove the cameras in. What unfortunately happened was that a few of the cameramen did not survive the leg breaking incident, but they're also, once they're inside the tree, it was much harder to shove them out. So the actors had to deal with the decomposing bodies of the smashed cameramen while they're filming.
Oh
and this
God.
caused them to actually, yeah, it made them act a lot better because they got through the takes really fast. Like, this is why Elijah Wood, like, is such an amazing actor to this day. Once those dead cameramen are next to his nose, he remembered his fucking lines. So he put him on set now. He's flawless.
Wow, I met him last year. He did not mention this. Yeah.
Cool. Where'd you guys meet? Like Whole Foods or something?
Nah, Fantastic Fest. Yeah.
Oh.
We did not talk. I knocked him down and then ran away. This is a true story. I do not imbibe in drugs often, but I met some friends at Fantastic Fest, and they said, "Hey, Max, smoke this doobie with me," and I said, "Ooh, okay." And it happened.
Right.
And then it was time to begin the next movie because Fantastic Fest is a film festival. So I stumbled into the lobby and knocked over this, what I thought was a small child, but I grabbed him and realized it was Elijah Wood. And I said, "I'm sorry." And I ran to the bathroom and hid. So.
Is there any chance it was just a small child that you were high and maybe just hit a stranger?
I mean, all I'm saying is they did find a dead kid in the lobby that day. I don't know if it has to do with me. So, next movie. You ever see that movie, Dead Alive?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, in Dead Alive, how do you think they managed to beat up an actual baby without anyone, like, arresting them or the baby dying? How was that allowed?
I've actually never seen that film. Never even heard of it.
Moving on. The movie, have you seen the movie The Thing by Johnny C?
Oh, the cart boy. I have.
Okay, how do you think they managed to get all that snow on the ground?
So Rob Bottin, who's a special effects genius, who was the person in real life who my character Bobby Feckle's career is kind of based on.
Yeah.
Rob Bottin is a special effects. He's a maverick, and so his idea was like we could film in a snowy place, right? Or we could use like potato flakes, is what they traditionally use in film for fake snow.
Okay.
It's like, but it is 1981, and we are all on cocaine. What if we just dump all the coke all over the set?
Wow.
And John Carpenter was like, okay. And next thing you know, we got a movie masterpiece.
That is so creative. Oh my God.
When Kurt Russell is shaking when they let him back inside because he's been out in the cold, he's all freaked out and stuff and holding the flamethrower.
Yeah.
He's actually just drawing because he hasn't had any coke for 10 minutes. He was just going through the crazy shakes.
Whoa.
Yep.
I did not know that. How did you find this out?
Max Landis. Max is like, hey man, women aren't people. Also, there's a fact. I was like, oh, okay, what's up, dude?
Speaking of awful human beings, in the movie
Right.
Boogie Nights, how do they get Mark Wahlberg's dicks to be so big?
They they actually grafted all of the 5 New Kids on the Block's penises together.
A mega dick.
Yeah, making it exactly.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that's the last. I think he won the game. Yeah.
Right on, man. Feel good.
And this is what you win. You get to tell us how to subscribe to the comic book and how to find you online.
Thank you kindly. Okay, so my comic book can be purchased at my Etsy shop, which is under Tony McMillen on Etsy. You can subscribe to the comic, which gets all 6 issues for a little bit discount price, or you can buy each issue individually and have it either sent to your house by mail or digitally download it. And then you can find me on Instagram under Tony McMillen. Basically, no one has my name for some reason, so I'm just Tony McMillen on everything. So on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, but I don't do shit on Twitter. But the Etsy store is where to go, and also I have my own website. You can see some of my art, and I post links to some of my interviews and crap like that. But that's basically it.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you once again for doing this. We'll have to do a new episode when issue 3 comes out.
I'm in, dude. This is great.
All right. Have a good one.
You too, man.
Thank you for listening to Ghoulish. Did you like what you just heard? Want to listen to these episodes daily instead of weekly? Well, you are in luck, Daddy-O, because over on Patreon, we've announced a new stretch goal. Once we begin making 1,000 bones a month, we will begin releasing Ghoulish 5 nights a week. That's 1,000 bones, my sweet, beautiful, spooky children. Now go on over to patreon.com/PMM Publishing to pledge now, today, right this second, don't wait. You can also follow this show at GhoulishPod.com and tweet at us at GhoulishPod. Please rate and review us on iTunes, and do not forget, whatever you do, live spooky, die spooky.